10-year reunion, which was up at Buckner's, and I was 13 years old, and get a little emotional about this, but it's the first time really I really grasped how special our group was, you know.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. I didn't stay, did I? I just.
It was that,
Many people?
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
You had to leave.
Yeah, I didn't even stay, so,
Oh,
but, tears of happiness here, folks.
Yeah.
The next, I missed the one when I was 17 years old, but I went to the one when I was 23, and I was married to my first wife, and she was very interested in my background, just from a health reasons and health, records, heart conditions, things like that. And I kept telling her, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything about my past. And I'm sure they would have told me if they knew something,
yeah.
because they'd have always been very open and forthcoming about any questions I ever had. So the word was that the lady that took records at Qumran Orphanage, her American name, they called her Betty. Does this sound familiar at all? Betty was the records keeper, and that she was going to be at the reunion. And so we flew into Dallas. I was living in Lubbock at the time. We flew into Dallas and got there, and it was amazing because the second I walked in the door, I haven't seen these guys in 10 years, everybody started calling me by my Vietnamese name, Sang. They're like,
wow.
Sang! Because obviously I hadn't changed, very much. And I don't think there were any other Ameri-Asian kids that came over, were there?
There were a few.
There were there?
Yeah,
Okay.
there were a few.
So I'm sure it wasn't hard to spot, And so I made a beeline to one of the people and said, I really want to talk to Betty, see if she had any records on me and can give me information. So Betty shows up. She came a little bit later, and they bring her to me, and I mean, she knew who I was right off the bat. She's like, "This is Sang. I remember you." We said, "Do you have any records?" They said, "No, they don't." They said, "We found you on the side of the street. Asked your mom to sign you over because she couldn't take care of you." And she said yes, and that's all we have. That's it.
And your
So-
name was?
Sang Nguyen.
S-A-N-G.
Nguyen? No,
Nguyen.
Nguyen Min Sang.
Okay.
That's
There you go.
exactly right.
They're all
Wow.
named Gwen.
That's
Yeah.
the way,
Yeah, right.
that's the way he
It was-
pronounced it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
We
took
kept
down
calling
his
him
own.
Sang, and he never,
He didn't like
Yeah.
Sang.
so we changed his name.
He didn't like the G on the end of it.
So I don't have anything that I know of, unless y'all know something. But the group does. So now I lost contact with them. I was telling Cal about this. We used to really stay in touch via mail, and we had everyone's phone numbers back then in the 70s and 80s, But now, everybody had moved and changed, and it was email and stuff like that. So I lost contact with everybody, and then I found everybody on Facebook. There's a group called Qumran Orphans, and they have organized.
Can anybody go on there?
Yes, absolutely. And so I'm going to share this with all y'all, but they've organized, and they have a little bit of a board, a quasi board, and a foundation, and a 501c3. And my understanding is, after Mr. High passed away, instead of flowers and stuff like that, in lieu of flowers, they wanted to create this foundation. And so what have they done since? They have built another orphanage, and on the same property a church, and on the same property a school. So now they have a school, church, orphanage that they
Located
in Qumran,
Come on.
very near the original spot. The military demolished the
Yeah.
They're gone.
They
that
demolished the
area.
orphanage where you were.
Yes,
I'm
They-
surprised the government allowed them to do it.
right.
Yeah.
And then amazing. So I have pictures too. They continue the tradition. One of the very first pictures I ever saw of the orphanage was Mr. High dressing up as Santa Claus at Christmas at the orphanage before I was even born, giving out presents. Remember, this was all built by the Air Force men, Christian chaplain, all of that in Qumran Bay, is who built the orphanage. And so there's this funny looking picture because Mr. Ha was the opposite looking of Santa Claus.
It was
He
Don
was-
Wright
kidding.
was the original
Yeah.
man that started the the
What
church.
was his name?
Oh, that's
Don
interesting,
Byer.
because that's an
Don
American
Byer.
thing.
Okay.
Yes.
So the American
But
servicemen
the
built
service
the
people
orphanage.
probably
Absolutely.
brought all
I have
that over.
pictures of them physically building the
That's
orphanage. Yeah. They were able to borrow the military bulldozers and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
One
that
of the
you've been
stories
able
that
to
I've
get all of
heard
this.
that
There's
tied.
always a reason though.
Yeah.
There's always a reason.
There's
Very,
a
very careful.
there is a military man named Ty Cope. Does that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Psycho.
Yeah.
I have the article in.
And he's been a big instigator of the orphanage. And the story is, and I'd love to talk to him one day, he finished 3 tours in the Air Force, survived 3 tours in the Air Force in Vietnam, and got home to camp, whatever, bought a commercial ticket and flew right back to Cam Ranh
Mm-hmm.
to build this orphanage.
Oh,
Can you imagine surviving 3 tours, finally getting back on U.S. soil and turning around and going right back? And so, so I know that portion of it. So they've organized. They have the about every 5 years they go back. So many of the group has stayed together, in contact and things like that. Unfortunately, at this age, some of them are starting to pass away, and things are happening. Life is happening, so we're not all here. Especially the school administrators, the orphanage administrators, they were older than us, obviously, and so they're starting to pass away as well. But they go back. They went back 2 years ago, I think. They took a group. So many of the orphans have family in Vietnam, so it's a reunion trip.
yeah, they weren't really all orphans. They
No.
were just people whose parents said they couldn't
Take care of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Probably most of them weren't orphans.
Right,
Well,
absolutely.
and the way our son Doc got with them, he had parents,
Mhm.
but his dad was a cousin to Mr. Ha.
Okay.
And when Da's father saw that Vietnam was gonna fall, Da's 18 years old, what's he gonna be? Conscripted into the Communist Army.
Right.
So he asked Mr. Ha to take Da with him, and that's how Da got with the.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly how all these stories really meld together. So when they go back, they see family, when they go back. But now there are some really neat pictures of the school, the church, the orphanage, and they continue the tradition of a guy that comes in dressed like Santa Claus. And so the money that we donate helps buy Christmas presents for the orphans down there and stuff like that.
Oh,
So.
I'm sorry, I haven't been more connected with this all through the years.
No problem. You know what? What I'm noticing is there's a little bit of a digital divide is what we have right here. So the younger ones of us that are on the internet and understand Facebook have been able to stay
Yeah, but
together.
Da could have told me.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't
he's not
know.
involved.
Maybe
And
he
do you
doesn't know.
Maybe
Tron,
Don never
do you
got
know
involved.
Tron, who goes by the name Tammy, works for Dr. Franco out here?
Mm-mm.
She was his first wife, and
Okay.
so I see her when we go to the doctor sometimes, and she's gone back to Vietnam several
Okay.
times.
Maybe ask her if it's with the
Yeah.
group.
So you all didn't.
Next year
adopt
is-
Dom?
Yeah.
You didn't adopt?
No, because we found out his parents were alive.
Okay.
Yeah, his parents
Yeah,
were
in my
alive, so
car.
we
We
were
consider him
thinking
our
about him.
son.
In the back.
We kind
Yeah,
of,
here you go.
when he left prom, we kind
called
of
me Dad,
distanced
and
ourselves from him because we
he
were
was
kind of
just-
upset with him. He did that.
That's
Yeah, he
funny.
called me Dad. We thought he was an orphan, first, but found out that
Well,
his
he
parents
didn't
were both
start out as
alive.
an orphan, and then we were
So
told
we-
his parents died, were
So
killed.
we heard they were killed, but then they showed up. And
Wow, that's amazing.
so,
Next year is, you were gonna say, a reunion.
2020 is the next trip back. All right, and I've talked to 2 of the board members, and they've all gone back several times, and so I hadn't been back. I said, "What's the itinerary? What date do you leave? All this stuff." And he said, "You know what? We're pretty flexible. We go in the summer, and if you basically just said if you want to do something and go at a certain time, just let us know. We'll start working it around." Since you've never been back, we've done everything. We know what to do and stuff like that. So basically, it's everybody gets to Ho Chi Minh to what's it called now? Is that it?
yeah,
Saigon is
Ho Chi
City.
Minh. Fly into Ho Chi Minh, and as long as everybody's there at a certain time and a date, then they rent a tour bus and they drive into Cam Ranh from there.
Well, we took
They were
a tour to Vietnam, and the
We only
tour
went to
bus
Saigon.
driver, the one that told us about everything, He said, well, I call it Saigon too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Not Ho Chi Minh
So
City.
Saigon's the only place we got to go.
So we need to get connected digitally so that we can send out the story. I'm
What is
trying
the date of that trip, do you know?
whenever we want to go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we need to find out when everybody's available and as many people that want to go back. It would be a phenomenal way to
Yeah, to
connect the
get-
dots
connect
and
everything.
full
Be-
circle, you know.
Be bad that Mr. Hod there. though,
Yeah, I know.
And
He's the
what
one we
was
always
the other
worked
man's
with.
name? The other man, I'm thinking maybe his wife was the one named Betty. You know, and, well, you
He
wouldn't
was
remember.
kinda quiet.
Yeah, there was a trailer, and Mr. Hine, his wife and children lived there, and then, wasn't he a relative? The two wives were sisters,
Yes,
I think
yes.
is what it was.
Okay.
And I cannot remember his name.
My understanding was
He
Mr.
was a helicopter pilot.
Wow, Mr. Haas' sister is the real one that got us out of Comron. Because Mr. Ha
She was the one that said, you leave
now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ha was already a day ahead
Yeah.
of us trying to
Yeah.
make some type of preparations.
But he had also had some foresight too, because he arranged for the buses.
Yeah.
So was it Mr. High's sister that was the wife of the helicopter man? It might have been his sister.
And Ralph got him the money to buy this ship, so.
Yeah. That's
You
amazing.
know, all of us Americans here talk about the wonderful thing and the miracles that we've seen in the Cameron City Orphanage.
But just all these
But
things.
there's something else that we have forgotten. These sweet little boys and girls have grown up in Vietnamese culture. They're in a communist culture. They have American Indians over there too. You know what they're called?
Aborigine.
Speak any French? Montagnard.
Oh, right, I remember that.
They are the
Montagnard.
indigenous people, and there is a god-awful bloodbath going on. They want to destroy the entire nation, just like Hitler has tried and failed. But the same thing is going on right now.
Right now,
And
they're
you
trying to
ought
get
to
rid of
know,
all the.
because I lived with the Montagnards for 43 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And much of what you talk about, he told me. And there's some that is very, very different. But if we're to be looking to the future and what God wants us to do, we have to be aware that it's so easy to look back and see how great we have been.
You mean as a
And we are
nation?
not looking forward to these children your age that need to get together and stop being the Vietnamese that want to kill all the Montagnards who were there long before there were ever Vietnamese in that country.
But the sad thing is that communists
And the
aren't much different
interesting-
than the fascists.
The interesting thing that's going on now, and there are organizations, as you know, I mean, Joe, that are trying to stand up for them. That's where we got the big settlement in North Carolina, 2 big settlements of these people that were sitting on the border in Cambodia. Were evacuated, and the Americans were in back of it,